The year is 2008, and YouTube has just exploded in popularity. One of the big reasons why might have been this thing right here. The emergence of cheap, small pocket camcorders, of which the Flip MinoHD was probably the most popular. But there were certainly other options. One less common one, that might be worth looking into at some point, was the Creative Vado HD, or Vado HD. I'm not sure how you're supposed to pronounce that. But another one, as reviewed by V Westlife, is the Kodak Zi6 Pocket HD camcorder. Now, as I remember it, V Westlife was actually using that as his primary camera back in the day. Now, obviously, it's not 2008 anymore, so something like this is pretty seriously outmoded. It only does 720p HD, although it will do 60 FPS, which is pretty decent. It's got a fixed focus lens. There's your focus adjustment there. Well, I suppose that's better than a standard digital camera like this, which doesn't really do any refocusing. It does have a flip-out USB arm, which is pretty neat. There's a switch up at the top. Very basic control layout. There's a screen. It takes AA batteries, believe it or not. So that's pretty nice. A lot of the other cameras took, or they had built-in lithium-ion batteries, and after a few years, well, maybe not a few years, but certainly after 10 years, those start to degrade pretty badly, and they're no longer really functional. It does have internal memory, but you only get 32 megabytes of it. I think even less than that. I think it's like 30 megs. And at 60 FPS, full HD, well, I guess it's not full HD, it's 720p, but at that, you only get 36 seconds of video recording time. You don't really get a whole lot, which is why it's got the SD card slot. But then again, you look at something like the Flip Mino over here, which has got 4 gigabytes of memory, but that's built-in memory, and I don't believe that it's expandable. I think you were stuck with that 4 gigabytes forever. So when they came out with cheap 32 gigabyte SD cards, well, you couldn't put them in the Flip Mino, but you could put them in something like this, which is probably pretty nice. It's got a very simplistic user interface, because it really doesn't have a whole lot of options. And you can see, the one thing I've noticed about it is that it's got an extremely narrow field of view. Like, this is what this camera sees, this Zi6, compared to what this sees. You know, quite a bit different. I have to go, like, all the way back here in order to get the same field of view that I've got on this Kodak Easy Scare, what is this, M580, I believe. So, either way, I don't think there's really much I can think of to say. So, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and switch over to this camera. So I will be right back, thanks to the magic of video editing. Oh, before I leave, the one other nice thing about these pocket cameras is that unlike cell phones, you can actually hold them properly and comfortably. So you can hold it like this, and it will actually take horizontal video rather than, you know, the vertical nonsense that people seem to think is acceptable in some fashion these days. But, yeah. It does have separate AV AV outputs. One of them is composite for SD video, and I guess the other one would be component video. Probably not HDMI. I don't think that this would support that. But, because remember, this is 2008 we're talking about here. Pretty much predates people really having widescreen televisions. Widespread widescreen televisions. Most people still had CRT TV back then, unless you were really rolling in the dough. So anyway, we'll switch over to this camera, so I'll be right back thanks to the magic of video editing. Really quick test here. of this Kodak Zi6. I'm not sure how much memory space it's actually got, but we'll see what the quality's like. Probably pretty similar to a Flip Mino of the time period. Here's some more video. It's not waterproof. I actually put an SD card in it now, so should be able to record for a little bit longer at least. It's only a 1 GB card, but it's good enough. It does have zoom. Of course, I think it's digital zoom. It might not be, and I'm pretty sure that it's digital zoom. It's optical, it's very little optical. So we'll see how the macro works. Not very well, but what do you expect for a cheap camera like this? Here's some indoor video. A little bit of a low light test, really. This is an HD mode, so this is 720p, 30 frames a second. The field of view is pretty narrow, I've noticed, compared to some of the other cameras. But the one thing that I like about it is that you can actually hold it comfortably and it will shoot vertical video like it's supposed to. It's not like cell phones which shoot, or I'm sorry, horizontal video like it's supposed, you know, normal video instead of the vertical nonsense that you get out of cell phones. People seem to think is somehow acceptable or another for some reason. Yeah, I don't get it either. It seems to work. Even in the non-close-up mode, things are still pretty well in focus. I'm sure if I put it to close-up, you'll see it goes out of focus. So it's meant for getting really close-up. That's a pretty good fixed focus lens, though. All things considered. Works pretty well. I still haven't figured out if it's optical zoom or not, but I don't think it is. Yeah, I think I can see close-ups of pixels on that, so it's not optical zoom, which is fine. You don't really need zoom on something like this anyway. Here's a test in what I would consider to be much better lighting conditions. You can really get an idea for just how close or how narrow of a field of view this lens actually has, because I'm about 2 feet away from that computer monitor that you're looking at. That's a 4x3 monitor and I can't get the whole thing in frame. Usually I've got to go way up close to it in order to, you know, just have the monitor in frame. But it does work. I think it's probably got a little bit of jello vision, but again, it's not bad for a camera from, I think, 2008. I can't remember when exactly they introduced the Zi6, but I think it was 2008, somewhere around there. The height of the YouTube craze, and when everybody just really started getting into YouTube and they were using Flip Minos to record videos, Kodak swooped in and made this. I wouldn't say it's better than the Flip Mino, or the Flip MinoHD, which is what it's probably more closely related to, or closely resembles as far as a camera, but, you know, it's not bad. It has its good points. It's got its weak points as well. There's not very much internal memory, so it's not like the Flips, which give you, I think, a couple gigabytes. I think they were 2 gigabytes. Or they came in different models, you could get, you know, bigger sizes. This, you have to put in SD cards. However, it is SDHC compatible, and having the SD cards means that you can expand the storage pretty much indefinitely. I mean, it won't take SDXC cards, but, you know, 32 gigabytes should be more than enough video storage space for 720p HD. Even if it's at the 60 FPS that this camera will do. There will be another video that I'll upload with this 60 FPS video test. Just so you can get an idea for what the 60 FPS looks like. But I think this is a pretty good idea for what this camera can do. So, it works well. I actually do like it. Another thing that I like about it that some people tend to not like because they're not rechargeable, but I like that it uses standard alkaline batteries, because lithium batteries don't last forever. Well, any battery doesn't last forever, and at least with the alkalines, I can simply just swap them in. You know, it's not like a camera that you might be able to see sitting down there, where it uses proprietary batteries that you can't buy anymore, even from aftermarket sources, so that thing's pretty much a brick. So, I guess there's that. Pretty decent little video. There's not much else that I can really think of to say that hasn't already been said. So, thank you for watching, and if you've got any comments, feel free to leave them down below.